Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. I'm Jana Henthorn. I am privileged and grateful to be a longtime board member of Hunger Free Colorado. And I just want to say, wow, Fatuma and Leah, that was a wonderful, wonderful, and so inspiring dialogue that you just had. And I'm glad that I was able to hear it. And thank you again for being with us. Uh, um, Part of what I do with Hunger Free Colorado is participate on the Kathy Underhill Scholarship Award. Marty Lassman and I chair this wonderful group that works to bring we call it KUSA, to fruition. And it's all about honoring Kathy. As you all know, Kathy's a nationally recognized leader and a policy expert in solving hunger, and she's the founding CEO of Hunger Free Colorado. So when she left the organization, the board of directors decided to institute the Kathy Underhill Scholarship Award to honor her legacy. What we're doing is recognizing an individual who's leading change in advocacy or health equity as it relates to hunger and healthy food access. This will be the second year. And really the spirit of this award is to recognize a community member who's changing hearts and minds in the hunger space, either through advocacy, policy, or community engagement. And this comes with a scholarship award of $1,000 for professional development or building one's personal capacity. And Marty and I have been so grateful to be part of this and to work with a wonderful group that gets together for the nominations and discussion. And now that we're virtual, we decided this year to put together Hunger Free put together a short video, and we wanted to take some time to recognize the nominees and to introduce you all to the finalists. They're speaking in their own words and pictures. So please enjoy this short, it's about a 9-minute video that Hunger Free put together to highlight the incredible work of the finalists for this award. Thank you to all those amazing folks. And now it's my privilege to announce that this year's Kathy Underhill Scholarship Award will go to Roberto Meza. Let me read a couple of pieces from the nomination about Roberto. Roberto is active on all levels of the fight against hunger and has mobilized an incredible amount of people, money, and community power, both during and before COVID times. One of Roberto's biggest strengths is his ability to bring people and organizations together, especially around food. He has a very unique ability to bridge together the nonprofit and for-profit sectors with the intent of creating a more equitable food system at all levels, from growers to pickers to restockers to customers. Honoring Roberto's work will not only show that we value equitable business and community practices, but will highlight scalable models of change. The scholarship will benefit people on many levels of the fight against hunger, and we see ripple effects through the Colorado farming and food access community. Congratulations to all the nominees, and especially to you, Roberto. Would you please join me up here on our virtual and honor us by making a few remarks?
Thank you, Jana. And thank you, everyone in the communities that you're all working in. It's a privilege and a really humbling experience to be working with you all alongside and doing amazing, impactful, meaningful things in our communities. This is definitely a very humbling experience, and this recognition really touches me pretty deep. The work that we've been doing here in our farm, building up our food hub as well, and supporting community members who want to have an impact in their own communities through some of the platforms that we've established, is extremely personal to me. And I'm motivated by seeing people really hoping to be in a better position to change their own circumstances. The more that I do this work, the more it leads me to new spaces of inquiry and self-awareness, and the wonderful conversations that I've had throughout the year and the years before, doing a lot of food systems work and as a farmer as well, have really shaped my own sense of direction, and my thoughts and my feelings. And hearing, Fatuma and Leah speak earlier today was just an incredible experience too, and a resonating one that, I'm so humbled to have at least Fatuma here to guide us through this work and this time. They're really wonderful mentors, and it's a privilege to have them be part of this work. And Fatuma, one of my really close collaborators, is helping us lead the way. I'm hoping that what we have in store for 2021 is something that we can really emerge from the struggles and the, some of the pain as well from 2020, so that we can build more resilience, more relationships, and be fortified to take on new challenges. I think we're at a moment where we need to develop a new set of optics, new languages, and be fearless in implementing our values of kindness and sincerity, solidarity, and having a historical context for the work that we do. I think that we are capable. We have a lot of assets in our communities, as much as, some of the rhetoric may demean some of those things. It's important to understand what we do have, how to leverage that, and how to be more direct and intentional in our work to alleviating hunger in our communities. We have a lot to learn. I still have a lot to learn. And, I'm definitely interested in connecting with everybody here that's been present, that has shared their viewpoints, their questions, and their thoughts to build more community, and I'm hoping that this Hungry for Change Summit can be a springboard for action after we've digested such incredible insights from our speakers and participants, that that I think we're in a good position to move ahead together. So thank you so much for this recognition.
Hi.
Hi. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Fatima. Again, good to see you.
Hi, Roberto. I'm so excited to get to talk with both of you today and get to know you a little bit more, Roberto. And it feels auspicious that we're here today on the 50th anniversary of Cesar Chavez being sentenced to an indefinite jail term for boycotting lettuce. So it feels like the right date. I am so curious, just thinking about the conversation earlier today between Fatuma and Leah, and really thinking about that notion of creating a new paradigm while still having to exist within this system. And it seems to me, Roberto, that you're on that path by using a for-profit and a nonprofit mechanism to kind of straddle that. But I'm just curious, like, what paths do you see for creating this new paradigm?
Question, Kathy. I think a lot of my approach in thinking about my work is informed by my experiences as an artist. You know, before I started farming, I was a conceptual artist working within sculpture and different media fields that have given me a sense of looking at the world and analyzing my place in it. And so that has really shaped my own understanding of what I'm doing as a farmer, as a food systems activist, and giving me a moment of like self-awareness every time that I engage in different projects. And I think that creativity seeps into the ways that I think about business, economics, work, labor, partnerships, resource acquisitions. And it's almost like those are my new mediums that I'm trying now to create an equitable canvas with. And so the liberty that that gives me is that I'm able to kind of take what is useful from different modalities or disciplines or even industries and adapt it in a way that is hybrid and that allows us to challenge some of the categorical frameworks for these spaces that we work within. One of the projects that we're working on now is seeing what synergies can happen between Emerald Gardens, which is our year-round greenhouse farm that it operates on 35 acres here in Bennett, Colorado, and the East Denver Food Hub, which grew out of the distribution aggregation work of Emerald Gardens back when we were trying to solve those issues as a small-scale producer. And when COVID hit, it just completely solidified this wonderful model for us that, hey, we can offer our 35 acres to our community members. We can offer technical assistance through food safety certifications. We can leverage our resources, our market connections that we've established with that farm. And now we have the East Denver Food Hub that is addressing local procurement models, building coalitions and pilots and partnerships, and slowly gaining the support of our community organizations by piloting and doing the work on the ground. So when community members come to the farm, there's an array of different things that they can plug into. And I really like what Leah mentioned and Fatima in your conversations about looking at this as an ecosystem. And so how do these social enterprise business ventures also mirror the soil food web on the ground? That's given me an idea of, you know, a new understanding of food hubs as resilient rhizomes for food and resources and community development.
Most people don't know this, but I actually started off making my living as an artist many, many years ago. And for the people that knew me in that part of my life, when I really became more known and ingrained in this ecosystem, this nonprofit anti-hunger nutrition ecospace, they said, don't you miss the creativity? Don't you miss that outlet? And they didn't understand that, as you said, I have poured all of that creativity and looking at things through different lenses into this work. So I love that you have also done sculpture and art. What I was thinking too, in the earlier conversation about the Nigerian author who's one of my most favorite, Chimamanda Adichie, and she has a great TED talk called The Dangers of a Single Story, about like kind of having that one dominant narrative thread. And I think in the hunger space, and I know less about the farming space, those dominant, kind of single stories and archetypes exist. How, Fatima, what do you think are some options about kind of breaking that down, and Roberto too, so that people really understand this complexity that you all are talking about with this ecosystem? So like the layperson that's out there that, in the word of tweets and quick little sound bites, how do we break down that single story?
I love this question, and it makes me really think of one of our farmers and graphic designers, Justin, because when he made our logo for the Pro, he made it as a whole mycorrhizae. When you look at it, it just looks like a whole bunch of swirls, and just the part of even explaining that, even finding the language in Spanish to even explain that. And then even like for our translators that were there at sometimes for them to explain the concept. But I love how much thought he put into it. And, you might have just seen it and not thought about it. But to me, and in that network, what we talk about, and even what that reflects is, this largest organism is this network. And this idea of a network is very non-hierarchical. And so when I think of Roberto, and as he was talking earlier, I very much see him as a connector. And being a connector isn't about like connect sources and outcomes, but really as a human, just a person that I can talk to or call and feels the urgency of the work. And it's not like I'm doing the work alone. Whatever the goal is, he's part of that mission with me. And so and I see so many people in the chat that do that across Colorado and Denver, and even Colorado has started to feel small to me. And so one of the blessings I've been really feeling this year, even though we've all been doing more, people like Roberto somehow doing more, people are like, how do you do it? But when we sit back and look and say like, wow, I know all these people here, and people are really our greatest assets in, conquering some of these things and supporting each other's through different positions and through different roles we play in different spaces. So that's what I think about it. I'll pass it to Roberto.
Those are really kind words. I think for me, it has a lot to do with, really simplifying things and bringing it down to a very basic, human to human level. And sometimes I get really heady and I start thinking about systems and get very intricate in that world. When I start to kind of ground myself in that, we're people just trying to figure things out right now. And organizations are made of people, systems are made of people. And so it's really how we relate to one another that shapes the world that we live in. So more than trying to, disentangle it on a very high level, it's more, how can I engage that in a simple conversation with somebody? How can we shed our titles and be real with one another? and also being aware that, you know, we have one foot in the structures that sustain everything in our life, and also one foot in trying to challenge that. So, you know, for me, it's really about getting back to very simple values that are informed by each other and our experiences and our work, and having some self-restraint and awareness as well into, you know, we may not have to agree on a certain approach or interpretation or analysis, but it's our constant struggle to understand that builds that solidarity and that allows for kind of, you know, cross-cultural, cross-sector collaboration. And that's really, I think, the value of the work that we do. And I think right now that's what's really shining bright, is how people from different spaces are coming together to offer different perspectives on issues that we all experience in specific ways in our communities. And that, I think, is what builds and continues to sustain communities as well, across our differences, while also acknowledging them.
I'm thinking about, it's interesting that none of the three of us grew up in Colorado or were born here or had, well, I guess, Fatuma, you were born here, but then were really raised elsewhere. And I'm curious about more about how that shaped your work now. I grew up in the rural South, in a time where in my hometown, they cemented in every single public pool rather than integrated. The KKK in their whites still meets at the courthouse in the next town over one Sunday a month. Like it is a very different world than it is here in a lot of ways, but also a very agricultural area. Farming, particularly tobacco, was big in where I grew up. So I'm curious about how, and those experiences for sure shaped how I approach the work. I have, you know, been on food stamps. I have visited pantries. How would you say, Roberto, your experiences, kind of briefly, I know this is a very deep, long question, but briefly, how would you, or if other people are thinking about, you know, encouraging people to do that reflection about how the past is informing the future, how would you ask them or suggest that they go about connecting their past and their current or future?
I always kind of tend to think about history as a palimpsest, you know, and if you think about, you know, palimpsests are basically, you know, historically these tablets that have been rewritten over and over, but the present is still there. And so those are kind of signposts and kind of a map that allow you to navigate the present. And, you know, I think that really gets to the resiliency of, you know, cultures that have survived so many periods of oppression and colonialization that are still present here, right? Like, as much as they're kind of relegated to the margins, you know, they're ever present and their spirit is here. And so for me, it has a lot to do with having that kind of consciousness in both my personal experiences, but also the historical experience of my people that continue to be here and to remind us of the struggles that they went through so that I could be here, and paying homage to that. And at the same time, understanding that, you know, really the role that I see shaping my work is this sense of being a steward of that struggle that I carry forth. And you know, I think it's important that we really develop a lens through which we're able to understand both our own experiences contextualized within a historical one. And that really is how I approach my present and my work and how I view the future. It's almost like all of those are simultaneously present every moment, right? And yeah, I think it just speaks to the nonlinear experience of time that I think our consciousness tries to segment in very simple ways, but every once in a while you get a rupture from the past.
anything you want to add?
Yeah, just want to, add that I certainly have a layered identity. And one of them is being like, born in Denver. I still live in the house that my family got gentrified out of and I was born in. So I'm a proud West Sider over here. And that informs my identity a lot. And so I think for me, it has been more about space and movement in space. What exists here and what exists in so many other countries in the world. And, certainly growing up and traveling in many other places and even going to Cuba all the time now where my brother lives. And I still work with smallholder farmers in Ethiopia. Is that the way I feel here isn't necessarily the way I feel in those places, I'm not a minority there. And having that capacity to step out of spaces and not even know what that liberation looks like until I'm just breathing the air, and to say, whoa, I feel so different, is something that's been valuable to me. And I think that the privilege of having the opportunity to have those different layers of culture and experience in my life has just, I think in history, these stories have been written, so many of them, and rewritten again and again. And so it's really about the disruptions that we create. It's about even how when we come together that we know that we might only come together and align for certain things, and that, having different ideas and different values and cultures and ways is important, and doesn't just flow in one way, is something that I've truly been trying to embrace in both my life and how I engage with other people.
Love you both so much. I feel like such a sponge around both of you, and I cannot wait to spend time with you post-pandemic, virtually during the pandemic, and learn from you both, because I have a lot to learn, and I'm excited to be a student. I know that you talked about, Roberto, about kind of being that, having that values driven. And this award is about kind of changing hearts and minds. What's your wish? What's your wish in this present moment?
Wow, that's a great question. I really want to empower, this model that we have right now, that we're co-creating with members of my team, with community members, with partners, and find ways of alignment with so many people that are doing this work, right? And I would love the opportunity to build more community on my farm. This is something that my farm partner, business partner, and I have been building since 2013 when we acquired the land. It was a very serendipitous moment. Never thought that I would ever have the opportunity to own property, but the opportunity arose, and people came in to really help make this happen for us. And now I feel like a caretaker of this opportunity rather than initiating it. And so I think that really follows through into what I want to see in terms of getting people to support, or getting the opportunity to support what people want to do. And that's something that I didn't expect to happen so soon. When we started to develop our food hub and our farm, community members started to come in just as much as we started to open our hearts and our resources. And they came with ideas and things that they wanted to do. And I was like, great, I need to step back, and find where I can fit in to support the drive of different people that want to do the work. And so now we're at a point where it's almost like the food hub has been generated by the input of so many different people that it's kind of spiraling out of its territory into other neighborhoods, into other spaces. And it's the values that have been shaped by the work that we do and how we relate to one another that is moving this into, areas that that people kind of take with them. And so I kind of want to see, my wish is to integrate that conversation, to solidify our partnership in solving the root causes of hunger. And one thing that I've been really thinking about is, along with this metric conversation that has been brought up a few times, I would love to see less families dependent on our donation of food and food pantries. How do we develop a metrics that, says not so much how many families we're able to feed, but how many families now depend less on that? And if we're able to measure that, then we're now measuring some systemic changes that are here. And so that's my wish, is really like, alleviating the necessity for people to rely on food donation.
Absolutely. I love that. I know our time is up. Congratulations, Roberto, on, I hope that you use this award for some self-care and some renewal, or however it makes sense. But I know in my earlier days, I discarded that as fluffy, and I have learned the wisdom of that now. So I think I'm going to turn it back over to Mark. Thank you both so much for being here, Fatuma, and Roberto, I can't wait to get to know you better. So back to Mark.
Thank you, Kathy and Roberto. Huge congratulations. Incredibly well-deserved. I decided, Roberto, you're one of the first people that I got a chance to interact with and meet when I came to Colorado a couple of years ago, and excited and look forward to continuing to get a chance to work with you and partner with you going forward. So also a huge congratulations to all of the nominees and the finalists for the Kathy Underhill Scholarship Award. So many amazing leaders across the state of Colorado that are just doing incredible things that inspire me every day, and just exciting to get a chance to hear their stories a little bit, and hope that we all have a chance to get to know and learn more about the work that each other is doing. And we will have time before the end of today to network, and hopefully y'all can take that time to get to know each other. A number